Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's your boy Nolan Hawkeye Anthony here, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic week and fantastic Saturday. The afternoon, it's about the afternoon of the annual Cyhawk game is upon us, and we are happy to be joining you guys. We're live. If you guys want to share this out and get other people up in here, that would work just fine. But before I move on to anything important here, I want to introduce my partner, Dean. Dean, how are you doing, buddy?
It's game day, Iowa State, Iowa. I mean, I am pumped. I am jazzed.
Yeah. I'm stoked too. I've said many times on the podcast that it's not that I dislike the Cyhawk game, but I do, I do think that there are other games that Iowa plays that is possibly more important. But there's still plenty of importance in this game. Overall, Dean, I think that, Iowa State tends to get more from this game than Iowa does. But this is big time. I mean, both of these teams are top 10 in the country. I got that right. I said that Iowa was going to move into the top 10. And I felt that way, Dean, because of how convincingly they won. It just was never close. Now, I've seen some other people discuss or say that, perhaps Indiana just was not as good as people thought. Certainly that might be true. But today, Dean, Iowa has a chance to start the season with two top 25 victories, which quite frankly will set them up in a position to not only make, a top tier bowl game, but the college football playoff. I mean, there won't be any other team who has a better resume than the Iowa Hawkeyes. By the way, I want to shout out the Iowa Hawkeyes fan group for Facebook. They are loyal supporters of this show, which brings me to my next thing. I want to mention going to 247hawkeye.com, and I hope you guys consider hitting that subscribe button. It really means a lot when you guys do that. We started this YouTube channel about 3 months ago, and it has grown exponentially. And quite frankly, a lot. Me and Dean have said this for a while, but the bottom line is, that's all because of you guys, your guys' support. Me and Dean aren't, top tier analysts or anything like that. Yeah, I have a decent background in sports and Dean knows sports, but we're not any like a Fox News contributor or whatever the heck you want to say. We do our best. And so point is, this is all because of you. And if you don't want to subscribe, I hope you guys consider commenting. That's a way for me and Dean to chat with you guys. And that's, pretty much why we do this. Dean, I want to throw it over to you and just ask you for your initial thoughts about this Cyhawk game, Iowa versus Iowa State. Hit me, bud.
Okay. I think this is going to be one defensive battle. I really do. I think both teams' defenses are as good as advertised. I think it's going to be who can make the fewer mistakes on defense. Does one team or the other team get a big play that the defense misses out on?
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be kind of ugly, kind of like the game was 2 years ago when we won 18-17.
Okay.
I think it could come down to a fluke play like that, just like that game was a fluke play.
I think I'm going to put the highlights of last year's game in the background. It looks like Lee Corso picked Iowa State. In all honesty, I could care less who they pick.
Yeah.
That doesn't change my opinion on who's going to win, one way or the other. I'm also going to pull up if there's been any Big Ten action here. But
Ohio State's currently going down to Oregon.
Oh, nice. Okay. I mean, generally speaking, I want Big Ten teams to win. Illinois got shellacked by Virginia. I'll be honest, Dean, for the most part, I root for Big Ten teams, but teams like Wisconsin or Illinois or Northwestern, where they get a lot of the recruits, if Iowa doesn't get them, one of those guys gets them. And, so in other words, the best way for Iowa to potentially, land them later on is for them to have terrible seasons. And I do want to say that before we go there, I do want to mention the Josh Dix commitment. Okay. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Iowa landed high 3-star shooting guard, #1 player in the state of Iowa. I did a phenomenal video on where Fran McCaffrey ranks among all-time basketball coaches. And, one of the things I said was that in grading Fran McCaffrey is that he's done solid recruiting in the state of Iowa, but not elite, not great, just solid. And this is a great step in the right direction. And Dean, real quick, just your initial thoughts on Josh Dix, and then we'll come back to Iowa football.
Okay. What a great get for Iowa.
Yeah.
And, it's nice that they got this commitment as early as they did. The biggest thing I think that helped, he was at the recruiting weekend last weekend in Iowa City with the football players. And Luke, as everybody knows, Luka Garza was there. And from what I've read, Luka Garza had a big hand in this commitment. So props off.
Okay.
Luka is still working for Iowa even after he leaves.
It is crazy to think that it was about whatever it was, 2 or 3 years ago when Isaiah Moss transferred. And if you remember, Dean, I was the only one who said, relax, Iowa's going to win. Because remember when everybody was like, Iowa's going to be lucky to win 15 games or whatever they would say. And, at that time, all the Iowa media members made it seem like Iowa's basketball team was fractured. They were, it was no good. They were, going downhill, this and that. And, it just simply was not true. Iowa is recruiting phenomenally, recently, maybe not phenomenally, but just good. Last year, they spent most of the season in the top 10. So things are going good. All right. I want to go directly back to Iowa football here, Dean. And I have to shuffle my thoughts here. Okay. #1, as I've already said, I don't believe the Cy-Hawk game is that important in the grand scheme for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Last week, there's been multiple times when I've said to Dean, what's more important in the first 2 games, which game would you take? And both me and Dean said Indiana, because that game is more important than the Cy-Hawk game. It does not matter for Iowa winning the conference. And there's been a few times, Dean, where Iowa literally will lose to Iowa State and then have a top tier season. But because of the recent recruiting wins, and I do think I'm going to pull that up here. Okay. I'm going to pause this here. It looks like Desmond Howard is taking Iowa State. Shocker. He never takes Iowa. Dean. So I'm going to pull up some of the recruits in the recruiting battle. That is the #1 thing on my mind is the recruiting battle. Okay. There's going to be a ton of top tier talent in Ames this Saturday. And what would be better than Iowa? Okay. Going in there and getting a win for the 6th straight time. That would be great. Now, I'm not saying that Iowa is going to flip, like the 4-star defensive tackle, Hunter Deo, or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But if it were possible, that's how you would do it. You would beat Iowa State and, you would go on to have a phenomenal season for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Secondly, Dean, I look at a guy like Xavier Nwankpa, and next year, Xavier Nwankpa does not have Iowa State in his final 3. His final 3 is Iowa, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. And I'll bring it back to him because I have a pretty big take on his recruitment here. But the 5-star teammate of his does have Iowa State in his list of top schools recruiting him, and he also has Iowa. Point is that a lot of players are taking Iowa State more seriously, especially in the state of Iowa. And if Iowa could get this victory, it would mean a lot in recruiting, Dean. Really quickly, and I'll pass it back over to you to just talk about everything I've said here. But Xavier Nwankpa, okay, Iowa just keeps hanging around with him. If I pull up his recruiting profile here, and I'm not pretending like I know where these guys are going, okay, I don't. But number one, Iowa needs a DB in this class, okay? Whereas you look at Ohio State and Notre Dame, if you look at last year's recruiting classes, they had a bunch of top tier players that they got at his position. And if you look at the predictions here, one of the predictions was a confidence meter of a 6, okay? And the most recent one is a 3, okay? So it's gone down from a 6 to a 3. All I'm saying is Iowa continues to hang around in this guy's recruitment. And I would not be shocked in the least if Iowa continues to have a superb season and Xavier goes, screw it, I'm going to stay home. You know, Phil Parker is a great defensive back coach. He'll get me to the NFL. Iowa competes in the Big Ten just as much as anybody. That's where I'm going. I'm not saying Iowa is going to land this guy, but I am saying that things are a lot more clear, and Iowa is definitely in a position to win for this guy's recruitment. Dean, what do you think about everything I just said there?
I think you're absolutely right. Xavier, he has so many big top-notch schools after him. Who did you say his final 3 was?
It seems that the top 3 for him right now is in no particular order: Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Iowa.
Yeah, what a get that would be if we can beat out Ohio State and Notre Dame for Iowa. And he had to like that last week when he was at the game and all the fans were yelling, "We want X, we want X." I mean, that had to make him feel good.
And Dean,
hopefully that helped turn the tide.
Right. Yeah, hopefully it did. Maybe it did. And, you know, when you and I were talking about what was going on with Iowa losing these battles, and one of the biggest things was Iowa not having their top selling point, which is the atmosphere, the culture, and the game day experience. Folks, I've been to, you know, most of you guys have been to an Iowa game. I still remember how the one game I went to, how it felt in my bones. It just, it felt so awesome. That game was amazing. And if you don't think it matters, you're wrong. It does. And the fact that Xavier Nwankpa was able to see that is awesome. I also want to say, guys, remember this feeling. Life is much more fun this way, being around people, feeding off of each other's energy, and all of that. The other thing, Dean, as far as this game goes, so there's the recruitment angle, obviously, for Iowa and Iowa State. I don't think it will make much of a difference for the 2021 guys, but I do think it will, 2022 guys, but I do think it will make a difference for the 2023 guys, which are juniors in high school now. And I do think that this game will make some sort of a difference there, especially that it is in Ames and Iowa can potentially snag a victory there. But the other place that this game is big is that this is a top 10 matchup. And like I already said at the beginning, Dean, I don't know any team that would be in a better position than Iowa with 2 top 25 victories. What do you think?
Could you imagine if we could win this game today against Iowa State, number 19, Ohio State's number 3, going down to Oregon, losing by 2 touchdowns currently. If Ohio State continues to lose, can we replace them in the top 4?
I don't see why not.
You know, could we be the Big Ten favorite all of a sudden? Or or is people going to go with Penn State because Penn State seems to be the darling backup of the Big
Ten? That's a good question. I think it's a mixed bag. I mean, obviously you have, all the people who just love, teams like Penn State and, Wisconsin. But I would say after week 1, most people are really high on Iowa, pretty high on Penn State. I mean, the AP poll has Iowa ahead of Penn State.
Yep.
They've lost a little momentum on Wisconsin. And for me, I have not lost momentum on Wisconsin. They are what I thought they would be, meaning they are not a juggernaut, but they won't be bad either. I mean, they'll still win at minimum 7-8 games. Okay. So, I mean, there would not be any better team as far as statement wins after week 2 than the Iowa Hawkeyes if they are able to pull this win off, Dean. And it is, I'm excited. I'm so excited for this game. Now I want to change gears here and just talk about some of the key things that are surrounding this game. Okay. And what is going to determine who wins this game. Okay. Obviously the players on the field are going to determine this game, but I really think, Dean, that Iowa State has all the pressure. Iowa virtually has zero. And the reason being is Iowa State is the team that is talking all kinds of stuff. Okay. The fans. And if you don't think that players, I can tell you they do. Okay. And again, water polo is not football, but you do hear what fans say. Trust me, these Iowa State players know the expectations that Iowa State fans and the national media has for Iowa State. And this is the first time, Dean, that Iowa State has had to play under those conditions in a long time. Mm-hmm. Whereas Iowa is quite used to this. Right. I'm not saying that they are Ohio State, but they are a top 25 program consistently. So, Dean, I got to tell you, I think all the pressure is on Iowa State in this game, and Iowa should be fairly loose. They'll be tight because of the loudness of the fans, but after the first 5 minutes, they will seep into the game, and they should be okay. What do you think on that?
I think you're right, because this is the first time in this series that Iowa State, well, at least in recent history, not going back many years ago, that Iowa State has outranked Iowa, has actually been favored in this game. Yeah. And Iowa State has a lot of pressure on them, because if they can win out and beat Oklahoma, they're a prohibitive favorite to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And, basically it comes down to the Oklahoma-Iowa State winner, probably.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, I believe there's a lot of pressure on them. Plus, Matt Campbell and this crew of current Cyclones has never beaten the Hawkeyes.
Yep.
Let's see. From what I heard this morning, Matt Campbell, since he joined Iowa State, has beaten every Big 12 team, and he has yet to beat Iowa.
Wow.
So there's going to be some pressure on him.
There's pressure, Dean. There is pressure.
Yeah. Iowa State's going to come out jacked up. Iowa just needs to weather that storm early on.
I totally agree. I totally agree. You are absolutely correct. They are going to come out jacked. But, I'm more talking about if the game is tight late, who will have the most pressure to perform well. And it's Iowa State, hands down. For Matt Campbell, okay, as you said, the pressure is there for him to beat Iowa, finally beat Iowa, and the players. The pressure is there. Whereas for Kirk Ferentz and Iowa, if they drop this game, if the game is close and they lose, yeah, it'll suck. I'm not going to say it won't. Okay. I don't want them to lose. Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't want them to lose, but it won't. I'll put it to you this way, Dean. If Iowa State loses, being a favorite, as you so adequately stated, it is a much bigger deal than Iowa losing, in my opinion, in this game, because Iowa can still go on and have a phenomenal season. The other aspect is, so we already talked about recruiting, and we talked about the pressure. The other thing about this game, the other aspect, is Kirk Ferentz's legacy. You know, he has a chance to really improve his, you know, the Cyhawk game has been the one game that he, you know, he's won most of his games, but for a while there, he had more losses than wins. And, you know, for Kirk Ferentz's legacy, if he can finish strong, and really get a few games above, you know, 500, it would mean quite a bit. It would mean quite a bit. So I think that's the other aspect that's important. I didn't even mention College Game Day. I got to be honest, Dean, I just think Iowa State is going to be so you remember Iowa versus Stanford, obviously, right?
Yes.
Iowa was that? Right, exactly. Iowa was so what's the word? They were not focused at all, because there were so many things going on. They were coming to California. You know, most of those kids, it was probably their first time in California ever. Okay. And they just were not focused. And I got to tell you, Dean, I just don't. If I had to pick who's going to be more focused and dialed into this game, I got to tell you, I'm going with Iowa on that. And you know, and also the talent level. I think Iowa is ahead in that that aspect of the game as well. That's not the end all be all, but I think they are ahead there as well. So those are the things that I think are big time going into this game. I'm going to look up here what else I have on the docket for us to talk about with.
Can I just say something on the talent level? You know, I would say that right now Iowa State has a better quarterback, a better running back, and a better tight end than we do. Okay, that doesn't mean by the end of the season that that's going to stay true.
Right.
And so I don't want to dismiss the fact that they've gotten an experienced third-year quarterback, or however many years he's been doing, and he's used to coming from behind in games, and they can make big plays. So I don't really want to overlook Purdy on this situation, but I would say probably top to bottom when it comes to two deeps, Iowa Hawkeyes are probably more talented.
Yes.
But we're a lot more inexperienced and we're a lot more younger. This team Iowa State's putting out there has a ton of seniors and several super seniors.
Okay.
Out there. And so they're very experienced. So we can't overlook the fact that experience might pay off.
But that's, you know, when we talked about this Iowa team and you know, both you and I were very high on this Iowa team.
We are.
You know, one of the big things I always said was the combination of older talent and younger talent that this Iowa team had. And you heard Kirk Ferentz talk about that after the game. You know, he said that is that's the formula for a good team. You have your older talent, and then you have your younger talent that helps you push through the door towards the ceiling you can get to. On Spencer Petras, okay, I do disagree with you. I think on paper, Iowa State has the better tight end. You know, it seems most publications think he is the top guy. But I think Sam Laporta is better than he is. But as you said, you know, by the end of the season, who knows what will happen. But to Spencer Petras, okay, and Iowa fans, I want to make this clear, okay. I am not the hashtag blame the quarterback guy. Okay. I don't give him all the credit with Iowa winning 7 games in a row. And I don't give him all the credit when Iowa loses. Okay. The only question there's 2 questions I want you guys to ask yourselves. Number 1, does Iowa have an adequate replacement for Spencer Petras? Okay. That's the first question. The second question is, if Iowa has an adequate replacement for Spencer, then let's say Alex Padilla were to go in there, would Iowa just continue to steamroll forward, or would it mess with the momentum Iowa currently has on this 7-game win streak? And I got to tell you, Dean, the answer to the first one on an adequate replacement for Spencer, maybe. I'm certainly not confident about that. Mm-hmm. And secondly, no, the momentum Iowa is on, I don't think changing the quarterback, I think that would stop the momentum in its tracks. That's a huge decision. So that's just something, Iowa fans, I want you guys to think about. I'm not saying you're wrong if you think Spencer Petras is trash or anything like that. I just think that those are two very important questions to ask when you are evaluating Iowa and Spencer Petras. I mean, think what you will about him, but he's won 7 in a row. And I'm not giving him all the credit for that, but he's beaten Wisconsin, Penn State, Indiana. He's done well. Dean, what do you think on that?
Oh, absolutely. By the way, our previous quarterback never beat those two teams.
Yes.
But I'm trying to, I kind of lost my train of thought. I didn't mean to throw that in there real quick. But
you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, but Petras, if there were an adequate replacement for him, the guy would be playing, because Kirk Ferentz wants to win. If he felt that Padilla was ready to take the reins, he would. Although he says in his press conference that he's very happy with Padilla. He feels confident that if they need Padilla to go out there and win the game, he can.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you, Dean.
But honestly,
go ahead.
If they felt he was better than Petras, he would be out there right now. Okay. Yeah. But you use the word adequate. Okay. So my thinking there is, okay, if it adequate, you're not asking for much. You're just saying, is he good enough to manage the game and win the game? Yeah, probably.
And overall, Dean, I don't think the quarterback position for Iowa is the most important. I think that there are many other positions that are more important. And listen, guys, one big fallacy, okay? And, I'll say it to you guys directly. One big fallacy is that, these Division I coaches play favorites. I can tell you that is so not true. It is so not true. Okay. Like I've already said, I play Division I water polo. Coaches do not play favorites. They need to win or else they're gone. So they will play who they need to play in order to win. And that's just the bottom line there. All right, Dean. I just want to go over, some of the key Iowa players. Here's the scoreboard, ladies and gentlemen. Virginia smashed Illinois. Minnesota is up on Miami of Ohio. Michigan State is trouncing Youngstown State. Oregon is up by 7 against Ohio State. Rutgers and Syracuse just started. Northwestern beat Indiana State. I'm going to pull up, Dean, some of the key players, or just some of the stats for Iowa State. And then I guess we can give our keys to victory today. And I'll just start here, Dean. I'll go one key to victory, and then you can go key to victory.
Okay.
Running the football. Okay. You were not as high on how Iowa was able to run the football last week.
Correct.
And I tend to agree. But I do feel good that Iowa will be able to find someone in their stable to get the job done, whether it's Ivy Kelly Martin, Tyler Goodson, whatever. That is, in my opinion, the number one key to victory. You're up, Dean.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you there. So since you took that one, I'm going to say the next key to victory is our defense, not giving up the big play. Our inexperienced front defensive line needs to come through. I thought they played well enough against Indiana. They got some pushes. I think they got 1 sack last week. They need to continue to improve and work together on that, because when we watched the game, I noticed that we pushed back a lot of their offensive line. Indiana, so it just shows that Indiana's offensive line is not very good.
Right.
We pushed them all the way back to the quarterback, but we weren't able to break free from that offensive line, guys. We weren't able to break free except for a couple times to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of pressure that Iowa was able to generate against. I'm trying to look to see if there's a place to read the comments here. I do want to say, guys, as this channel grows, the whole YouTube channels, there's a place that you can, send like $1 in or whatever the heck, and just, and have us read your chat. And that's, I think that's a fun thing to do. And so that's where we are. So the other key to victory I have, Dean, is the takeaways. Iowa needs to, they don't need to win that battle, but it is, in my opinion, important that they win that battle. It's the takeaways. And I feel confident that Iowa will come out on top with that. Tyler Goodson and Ivory Kelly Martin, I do not expect them to have the type of game that they had last week with the fumbles. Gosh, that was annoying. So it's the takeaways. And the last one, Dean, what do you have?
You said takeaways. I'm going to say not defense. Clean game, penalty free, or as little. Don't stab yourself on the foot. Like, get a great drive down to the 30-yard line and starting to get yourself into field goal range, and then having back-to-back penalties that would push you back. Because we've seen that from Iowa so many times in previous histories, and putting a lot of pressure on themselves to come through. Yeah, don't hurt yourself with penalties, not stupid ones anyway.
And last week Iowa did well. So, all right, guys, we are going to wrap this up. I got to go get some cigars, and like I've already said, this channel and everything, it's not because me and Dean are great at doing this. It's because you guys are just awesome. Iowa fans are the best. I got to say, my final thoughts before going into this game, are very simple. I am so happy that the football season is here. I'm so happy that all of us can be close and together. There was an article that was written basically stating how hypocritical, the Iowa was for doing the wave to the UI Children's Hospital during COVID, as people call it.
That guy was an asshole.
It was no, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's just unreal. But guys, that's how these people view it. They think I'm not going to get too far into that, but listen, you guys can look at the degrees I have on my wall there. It's all in psychology. We need to be around each other. We need to feel each other's energy. That is how we were designed. And so I'm so happy that we will be able to do that again for the second straight week in a row. And last but not least, Dean, all the pressure is on Iowa State, in my opinion. College Gameday went to their campus. Matt Campbell hasn't beaten Iowa in, 6 or 5 tries? 5
now.
5 tries.
Well, Iowa's 5 in a row, but he's only had 4 of them.
Okay. So, there's pressure. And if you don't think Iowa State players know the expectations, you're sadly mistaken. They do know the expectations, and it's going to be interesting. Dean, it's prediction time, baby. You ready?
You ready? You want me to go first?
Oh, go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. Go first.
All right. I've been going back and forth on this one. Originally, I said all the intangibles would give Iowa State a victory. However, after watching our defense go to work last week on Indiana, a top team, there's no doubt about it. Indiana is as good as advertised. We were just better. I'm going to have to pick my Hawkeyes again. So if this stays true to form, I'm predicting a 12-0 season, but we'll find out. But I am picking the Hawkeyes in a very low defensive scoring, ugly game 16-9.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Listen, guys, I'm going with the Hawkeyes. I'm not even going to make any bones about it. There's not really any position that Iowa State is so lethal or so much better than Iowa that I'm like, ooh, we're going to have to stop that or we're in trouble. No, that's just not the case. Yeah, there's, Brock Purdy has had a little bit more success than Spencer Petras. Charlie Kohler has had a little bit more success than Sam Laporta. But from top to bottom, I think Iowa is a better team. I really don't understand. This is before this game. I don't understand all the hype surrounding Iowa State, but that's fine. And I just think Iowa is the better team. Now, of course, because of the nature of this game, it'll probably be closer than it needs to be. I am going to go with an Iowa victory, 28-19. I think they might win this game by 9 points. And I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good about Iowa winning this game as long as they play mistake-free football. They run the football and they defend. They should be fine. They should be A-okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I got to tell you, I feel good about this show, Dean. It went pretty damn smooth. It really did. I saw a few people were hanging out watching this video live. So thank you for doing that. And, next time, if you can share it out or whatever, that'd be great. I really hope you guys consider subscribing. I got a lot of cool content. There's no Iowa fan that does what I do, plain and simple. So I hope you guys consider hitting that subscribe button. And last but not least, go to 247hawkeye.com. Without further ado, DVAP, don't be a pussy, Willow. And facts are feelings. Feelings don't matter. Love y'all.